आपकी उम्र क्या? 30। 30। 100 में से 30 गए, कितने रह गए दोस्त? 70। 70। आपकी जिंदगी 70 साल से ज्यादा नहीं। आपको मालूम है आपकी बीमारी क्या है? आपकी बॉडी, जिस्म, शरीर, जो कि आहिस्ता आहिस्ता खत्म हो रहा। आप कहना क्या चाहते हैं? यही कि क्या फर्क है 70 साल और 6 महीने में। मौत एक पल है बाबूमोशाय। आने वाले 6 महीने में जो लाखों पल में जीने वाले हैं, उसका क्या होगा? बाबूमोशाय, जिंदगी बड़ी होनी चाहिए, लंबी नहीं।
Well, that's a beautiful dialogue from Rajesh Khanna. In this particular web series or class lecture, whatever you would like to call it, we wouldn't really focus on the philosophical idea of life or zindagi. We would rather understand the science behind it from the angle of both chemistry and biology. Well, I welcome you all to this particular web series. Let's call that because we all vibe with that terminology quite a lot these days. So, this is Bioinorganic Chemistry, and this particular episode, the first episode, is on the introduction to essential elements brought to you by Team Asasi from Achievers. So, without further ado, let's begin. So, when we hear the word life, या फिर जिंदगी या फिर जीवन, uh, what first comes to our mind? Whenever we think about life, we think about the processes in our body that make us alive. Isn't it true? Well, yes. You talk about nutrition, you talk about transportation, we talk about respiration, excretion, reproduction, metabolism, and all other life processes. That makes us feel that yes, we have a zindagi, আমাদের জীবন আছে, we are alive. That's our life. Now, all these processes are explained to us since our middle school days. It doesn't matter if you didn't have 11 and didn't have biology when you were in class 11 and 12. That really doesn't matter. But you have surely learned a little bit of everything about life from life science right from class 5, 6, and so, isn't it? Well, yes. So, all these things come under the umbrella of biology. So, with an example, we will see that the biological phenomena of DNA, which is basically, if we have a closer look, it's like a ladder, a twisted ladder. And the rungs that we have over here connected, or these are pairs of nitrogenous bases. You see, these are the four nitrogenous bases which are present in DNA. It's a twisted ladder. Each rung is a pair of nitrogenous bases, which is adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. This is DNA. If this would have been RNA, then thymine would have been replaced by its closest relative, which is uracil. So, this is DNA, and we can see that the pairs are stuck together not by real covalent bonds, but with weak attraction called hydrogen bonds. This particular statement is given by the understanding of chemistry. How? Well, the basis ability to pair up comes from the nitrogen atoms. ये जो bases होते हैं ना, इसमें nitrogens होते हैं, which have what? A pair of electron, which gives it a negative character, a slightly negative character. There's a nitrogen in adenine and there's a hydrogen in thymine. That is its partner. And this hydrogen, we know, is slightly positive in character, and this slightly negative and slightly positive want to create a bond, but it's not a real covalent bond. It's a weak attraction, and that is our hydrogen bond. And that's how the phenomena of the DNA, the nitrogenous base pairs of DNA pairing up, is explained by our chemistry. So, in other words, biology and chemistry work hand in hand. So, biology and chemistry together solve many mysteries in living organisms. And in this particular web series of Bioinorganic Chemistry, or this particular course on Bioinorganic Chemistry, we will look at a certain aspect where these both subjects play a very important role. तो वही नहीं, हमको ये भी जानना ज़रूरी है कि बायोऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री इतनी इम्पॉर्टेंट क्यों है. सो वी विल स्टार्ट डेफिनेटली विथ इट्स definition, its subpart. Let me tell you one thing. I will be continuing this whole course in English, obviously, but I will also use Hindi, Bengali, sometimes both, just to make things a little bit light. Don't be so tensed about this particular course or this particular chapter. It's very easy, and just make sure that whatever time you dedicate for this lecture, it might be 5 minutes or 10 minutes or maybe 2 hours, whatever be the case, just make sure that you sit here with your utmost attention. Sit here with your utmost attention so that whenever you sit, that is where आपका पढ़ाई वहाँ ही at least more than 50% वहाँ ही complete हो रही है. Then obviously what you need to do is you need to write and practice, write, practice, and solve as many questions as you want. It's like आपको इस चैप्टर का फंडा समझना है, फिर आपको वो झटका संभालना है. झटका मीन्स द क्वेश्चंस, और ठंडे दिमाग से सारे के सारे क्वेश्चंस आपको सॉल्व करने हैं. তাহলে শুরু করা যাক, বাট অবভিয়াসলি শুরু করার আগে just to make you a bit more attentive, we will play a game. Let's look at a game. The game is, not I, there's a deception specialist. He is Apollo Robbins, very famous, and he will try to trick you. Well, have you heard that when people go to certain tourist places, their relatives suggest them that be careful of your belongings, your phone, your money, your watch, whatever is expensive, be sure because you might lose them. So we carefully keep them with us. In this particular game, you will be put in such a situation when you are also being robbed in broad daylight. अब क्या करोगे? और इसी के साथ साथ आपका अटेंशन भी हम চেক করেंगे কি কতটা অ্যাটেনটিভ হয়ে তোমরা শুনছো এই কোর্সটা. এই অ্যাটেনশনটা যখন তুমি বুঝবে যে এই আমি এটা নোটিস করিনি, এটা হয়েছে, রাইট, তারপরেই আমরা আমাদের কোয়েশ্চেন স্টার্ট করবো. এন্ড इस कोर्स में सॉरी इस एपिसोड में we will cover almost 12 questions. So enough chit chat, let's begin the game. Deception specialist Apollo Robbins will try to trick you. This is game time and pay your attention. और हाँ, ऐसे ही बहुत सारे games हम ये पूरे course में, ये पूरे web series में we will keep on, just to lighten the mood, we will keep on trying all of them. So let's see.
Apollo's got a trick for you. Try to catch how he does it while still paying attention to what he has to say.
I get asked all the time, where is the safest place to keep your stuff? The answer is really not that simple. It's a little bit more involved. You have to get inside the mind of a thief. And to do that, I'm going to show you how. You have to understand their target. They're looking for brands, looking for the type of watch that you wear, they're looking for your cash, and they're looking for your phone. All of these things are quite valuable, but it's important the way you can hide them. When you're traveling, here's a simple thing to do. You can get a cup. It acts as a portable safe. Put all your valuables inside, put a lid on top. You need a little bit of a convincer, something that it's a nice touch sometimes is just to use something simple like a straw. You put the straw on top, it convinces them that the cup might be empty. And if they were to rob you, they wouldn't find anything on you, and they'd probably leave you with your trash. Well, the nice thing is you'd still have all your valuables. At the end, you'd have a nice, refreshing beverage.
Did you catch how he did that? And did you see the bunny, the gorilla, and the bear?
So did you catch the people walking behind Apollo in their costumes of animals? Did you catch them? Well, weren't you attentive enough? But no need to rewind the video because we will find out how things happened. You were watching the video, but you still didn't notice them. Let's find out what exactly happened.
Put all your valuables inside.
Apollo just turned his keys, wallet, and cell phone into a cold cup of soda, while 3 costumed animals walked directly behind him.
Nice, refreshing. You can get a cup. You have to understand.
Did you see any of these critters? You may have noticed the bunny, but chances are good you didn't catch all 3.
So that's how the people with their animal costumes kept walking behind Apollo, but you still didn't notice because you were too focused on what Apollo was doing in front of you with his cup, which contained his watch, his wallet, his mobile, and which he actually converted into a juice, a fruit juice. So obviously, he's a deceptionist and he's an expert in that field. He's showing his skills. So this shows us that we need to be very careful of the surroundings, which will tell us a lot about what's going on and what's not. Not that our brains are not very smart enough, they are, but they just often don't follow all the things. We are much more focused on what's lying in front of us. Our peripheral view is not so clear, it's not so vivid. But no problem, right now, we just need to focus what's in front of us and we will begin our questions. Starting from the very first thing, that is define bioinorganic chemistry. And one, like I told you already, we will be covering this course in a question answer format so that it's easier for us to understand the topics. ताकि वो concepts हमको याद रहे. The question answer format works well. So before beginning the definition, we need to acknowledge the father of bioinorganic chemistry, and he is Robert J.P. Williams. Robert Bob J.P. Williams. You can call him Bob Uncle. So, what is his definition? Bioinorganic chemistry is the study of the role of metal ions in biological systems. It explores how these ions are essential for various biochemical reactions and the normal functioning of living organisms. Metal ions serve different functions, such as being part of skeletal components, maintaining water balance, and acting as prosthetic groups in enzymes. These fields bridge inorganic chemistry with life processes, highlighting the crucial dependence of life on metal ions. So, in a nutshell, role of metal ions in biology is that is all about bioinorganic chemistry. But आपको exam के लिए you will need question and answer, you will need a proper definition. So here it is. You can jot it down and obviously don't write a one sentence answer that role of metal ions in biology is bioinorganic chemistry. No, no, very bad. You will not get good marks for it. So preferably this is the answer you are looking for, and you need to don't mug it up. मुखस्त कराटा is not the aim. रटना हमको नहीं है, हमको समझना है. You understand what the answer is, you understand the key points in it, and you can write a better answer, far better than this. Okay, so a little bit history about how things started. We're talking about metal ions and its relation with our body. Once again, if you go back to the definition, bioinorganic chemistry is a study of role of metal ions in biological systems. So definitely, these metal ions are coexisting with living organisms since many, 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 many years ago. It explores how these ions are essential for various biochemical reactions and the normal functioning. हमारे शरीर में जितने भी biological functions हो रहे उसके लिए कुछ ना कुछ metal ion तो ज़रूर जिम्मेदार है. Metal ions serve different functions, such as being part of skeletal components, and we will actually look at certain things. For example, um, sodium ion and potassium ion are very important for our nerve signals. You know that. I'm talking to you. Maybe a mosquito just sucks my blood over here and it's paining over here or it's itching over here. So this feeling that I'm getting this feeling because my brain is giving me the signal to scratch over here because I'm having this irritation over here. This thing that is passing, this nerve signal that is passing to the neurons, the two ions which are responsible for it, for this, or which are behind this, that is sodium ion and potassium ion. Don't believe me? Well, we will look at an example in the following episodes. But right now, we need to understand this that these metal ions are existing a long time ago. No? Yes. Long ago, when Earth was new, it was a wild place full of bubbling oceans and fiery volcanoes. In these early days, something amazing happened. Life started to form. In Earth's watery depths, समुद्र के बहुत बहुत डीप डेप्थ में बहुत अंदर जहाँ सनलाइट हार्डली शायद पहुँचता होगा সেখানে লিভিং থিংস তৈরি হতে শুরু করলো কি করে দিস মলিকিউলস ওয়ার লাইক বিল্ডিং ব্লকস টাইনি মলিকিউলসগুলো মিক্স করলো একসাথে টাইনি মলিকিউলস মিক্সড টুগেদার ক্রিয়েটিং দ্য স্টাফ দ্যাট লিভিং থিংস আর মেড অফ হাউ these molecules were like building blocks. You know, we have heard about Lego bricks and we put them together to build a house. It's like that only. These molecules were like building blocks and they included important elements like carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus and sulfur. Sorry. So, from these basic building blocks, things called amino acids began to form. So, from these very simple elements, such big structures of amino acids began to form. These are like the building blocks of proteins, which are super important for living things. With the help of sunlight and natural forces, these molecules started to come together and the adventure began. That is, life began. But the story doesn't stop there. As time went on, living things started to use these essential elements in all sorts of ways. तो ये तो समझ में आ गया कि ये essential, sorry, ये जो elements है, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, how these things started to evolve and how they, like, you know, they clubbed, they joined together and they formed big structures like amino acids and other things that make us living organisms. And these elements are also responsible for various other things. For example, if you look at carbon, they helped make up the structures of living things. Then nitrogen helped with growth and energy. Oxygen became the breath of life. Obviously, we need oxygen to breathe, powering cells and keeping organisms alive. Then we have phosphorus, was like a battery, storing and sharing energy inside cells. Cells के अंदर energy store करने के लिए phosphorus plays a big role. Then sulfur helped hold things together, making sure proteins worked properly and enzymes did their jobs. Well, yes, these are just one-liners, but we are going to look. Obviously, we'll say that are we also putting them in the metal category? Well, we are putting them under inorganic chemistry category, and hence they are in this chapter, in this course, or in this web series. Let's proceed. As life spread across the planet, these essential elements stayed important, right? From tiny bacteria to big animals, everything relied on them to survive and grow. तो ये हमको समझ में आ गया कि essential elements are pretty important. So obviously, the question number 2 is define essential elements. Any element may be considered essential when its insufficient intake produces an impaired function. If those elements are not in our body in a sufficient quantity, then maybe the growth is not proper. Maybe एक जो शरीर का कोई एक प्रोसेस है, कोई एक सिस्टम है, वो ठीक से नहीं हो पाता है. पर लाइफ साइकिल আমরা বলতে পারি প্রপার যে বেঁচে থাকার জন্য পুরো যে লাइफ साइकिल वो भी शायद impaired होता है, मतलब वो प्रॉपर नहीं हो पाता है. If we restore to its physiological levels, मतलब शरीर के लिए जितना ज़रूरी है, if we restore those essential elements, then the impaired function is cured, it is relieved. Without essential elements, organisms can neither grow nor complete its life cycle. যেরকম একটু আগে বলছিলাম যে essential elements না থাকলে proper growth হওয়া বা proper life cycle টা complete করা becomes extremely tough. Till now, the 112 elements which we know, evolutionary processes, since the dawn of Earth, जितने भी elements have, come to our existence, out of them, nature has selected 35 elements as essential elements. Nature always selects elements of small atomic numbers. Heavy elements are usually toxic. Matlab, there might be some exceptions, that is, some heavy elements are maybe essential for us. And if essential elements समझ लिया तो फिर नॉन एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स मतलब कौन है जिसका कोई पॉजिटिव रोल बायोलॉजिकल सिस्टम में नहीं होता है. Those are basically our non-essential elements. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज कि एसेंशियल एलिमेंट बनने के लिए क्राइटेरिया है क्या है. एक जॉब पाने के लिए क्राइटेरिया होता है, एग्जाम देने के लिए क्राइटेरिया होता है, वैसे एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स होने के लिए क्राइटेरिया क्या है. The element is present in tissues at comparable concentrations. It means concentration must be constant. मतलब if it increases than its desired level, or if it decreases than its desired level, then it starts to show its effect. मतलब कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ ज़रूर होती है. এই জন্যে comparable concentration এ এলিমেন্টটাকে আমাদের শরীরের বিভিন্ন টিস্যুতে থাকতে হবে. Next, a physiological deficiency or abnormality appears when the element is withdrawn from the diet. আমাদেরকে বলে না খাবারে বেশি করে সোডিয়াম খাও বা কম দরকার, তো নুন খেও না, সোডিয়াম অতটা দরকার নেই শরীরে. তার মানে কি ফিজিওলজিক্যাল লেভেলের থেকে আমি ইদার বেশি ইনটেক করে ফেলছি বা কম ইনটেक করে ফেলছি. যদি কম হয় मतलब अगर डेफिशिएंसी होता है तो फिर क्या होगा, एक एबनॉर्मलिटी आ सकता है. The deficiency or abnormality can be relieved or prevented by the addition of that element. तो जैसे ही फिजियोलॉजिकल लेवल से अगर ज़्यादा या कम होता है, उससे एबनॉर्मलिटी जैसे आता है, ठीक उसी तरीके से अगर वो डेफिशिएंसी मतलब वो कम हो सकता है या फिर बहुत ज़्यादा हो सकता है, मतलब एक्सेसिव या फिर डेफिशिएंसी कुछ भी हो, अगर उसको हम रिस्टोर कर दे फिजियोलॉजिकल लेवल पे, मतलब जितना शरीर को ज़रूरत है, देन दैट एबनॉर्मलिटी गोज अवे. द डेफिशिएंसी और एबनॉर्मलिटी हाउएवर, ये जानना ज़रूरी है कि वो जो एलिमेंट है उसको हम रिप्लेस करके अगर कुछ और दे दे शरीर में, expecting that that abnormality will go away, well, that is not going to happen. The deficiency or abnormality cannot be relieved or prevented by replacing that element with something else. The last but important, that is the fifth but very important criteria, is that essential element has to be connected to a specific function. A specific biochemical function is associated with a particular element. Right now, we were talking about our neurons sending nerve signals. And this process or this biological function of sending nerve signals, matlab my brain is sending a nerve signal to my nerves, to my neurons, to my hand, saying that I have a mosquito bite over here, bleeding, it's bleeding, so I need to stop it, or I'm feeling pain. This particular nerve signal, it's happening because two essential elements are linked to it, sodium and potassium. So that is what the final point is. A specific biochemical function is associated with a particular element. If you think that you need to pause the video or rewind the video to understand it a bit more, you can do it at your own pace. No problem. We'll proceed to the next question. First is categories of essential elements. Essential elements का definition हो गया, इसका criteria हो गया. अब इसका हम समझेंगे category की হয়. প্রথম category হচ্ছে গিয়ে bulk elements, তারপরে trace elements, তারপর ultra trace elements. জিনিসগুলো কি? Bulk elements are the elements which are found in higher concentrations. Obviously যেই elements গুলো শরীরে অনেক high concentration এ থাকে সেইগুলো bulk element, और जो थोड़े कम होते हैं मतलब not which are needed but in very low, that are our trace elements. और जो बहुत ही कम लगते हैं ultra मतलब excessively low, that is our ultra trace elements. তাহলে bulk element, trace element, ultra trace element. এক্স্যাক্টলি কতটা বাল্ক এলিমেন্ট মানে কত अमाउंट হলে সেটা বাল্ক এলিমেंट হয়, कितना अमाउंट होगा तो हम ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स बोलेंगे और कितना अमाउंट होगा तो अल्ट्रा ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स होंगे, ওটার ব্যাপারে আমরা এর পরেই পড়ব. Now, before we proceed to have a look at those essential elements and its category wise division, let's look at some other few points. Now, people might think that the amount of elements which are abundant in earth is also going to be proportional to the amount of elements which are too much or which are present in a living organism, because we living organisms are produced from earth only. तो अगर शायद कुछ लोग समझेंगे कि जो जो एलिमेंट्स अर्थ में अबंडेंट है वही हमारे शरीर में भी अबंडेंट है, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ बात नहीं है. For most abundant elements who make 88% of Earth's crust, those are oxygen, silicon, aluminium, and iron. Oxygen, yes, they are in our body. Iron is there in our body. But Earth crust में the 88% elements which are present, সেটা হচ্ছে কি oxygen, silicon, aluminum, and iron. And আমরা যদি শরীরে যদি দেখি, if we'll have a look at our body, then the 5 elements who make almost 98% of living organisms are hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus. Toxic elements क्या होता है? Any element exceeding its maximum concentration. We will have a look at a graph actually, जिससे आपको ये बहुत अच्छी तरीके से समझ में आएगा कि जो भी maximum concentration के যদি ছাড়িয়ে যায় তাহলে সেটাই হচ্ছে গিয়ে আমাদের toxic element. Classification of essential elements. First is our bulk elements, and there are almost 11 bulk elements. We have our major elements, we have our minor elements, और आपको सारे के सारे याद रखने होंगे. To remember, you need to obviously write. We were talking about this only. कि आप जब ये वीडियो देख रहे हो, you give your ultimate utmost attention to this particular course, to this particular episode. When you are discussing with me, we are just talking about this particular cool chapter of bioinorganic chemistry या फिर cool course of bioinorganic chemistry. But you have to, when you're done with this, or maybe कि ये lecture खत्म होने के बाद, just close your eyes, and obviously while watching the video you're taking running notes, you're pausing as and when needed, so you're using both your muscle memory for writing as well as your brain memory for remembering, for retaining the concepts whatever I am right now conveying to you. So right now, coming back to our chapter, we have major elements, we have minor elements, and yes, जिसके बारे में हम बात कर रहे थे कि आपको सारे 11 मतलब 11:30 नहीं, no, all the 11 elements you will have to remember, you will have to remember. आप चाहे इनको बार बार लिख के आप याद कर लो, और you can create a poem, a mnemonic. My very excited mother just showed us 9 planets. एक अजीब सा एक सेंटेंस है, लेकिन इस सेंटेंस का अगर आप पहला अक्षर देख लो, then you will find out that every first letter is related to the 9 planets in our solar system. My for Mars, very is for Venus, excited is for Earth, my very excited mother, mother is for Mars, just is for Jupiter, short is for Saturn, us is for Uranus, 9 is for Neptune, planet is for Pluto. This is a mnemonic. So you're using a sentence to remember 9 planets. Similarly, you can create a mnemonic on your own. remember these 11 elements. वैसे ही आपको याद रखना है trace elements भी. And the trace, अच्छा, before that, we need to understand, हम बात कर रहे थे कि कितना कितना अमाउंट में होना है bulk elements को, in how much quantity. जैसे पता चलेगा कि इससे ज़्यादा अगर हो जाए तो फिर that can get toxic, या फिर अगर इससे कम हो जाए तो मे बी दैट विल नो लॉन्गर बी अ बल्क एलिमेंट. तो अगर एक एवरेज ह्यूमन बीइंग का हम वेट 75 केजीज पकड़ के चले, তাহলে সেই 75 কেজি মানুষ মধ্যে যতটা অ্যামাউন্টে বাল্ক এলিমেন্টস থাকে, that's almost 1 to 10 to the power 4 ग्राम मोल पर 75 केजी. अब अगर ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स देखने जाए तो आयरन, कॉपर, जिंक, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 trace elements. We will have to remember these 9 trace elements. But if you look at these ultra trace elements, many things are there, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can remember all 10, it's good. You are no longer a small kid. If you would have been, I would have said, okay, you can mention 2 to 3 examples in your exam. That is going to be enough. But now, sadly speaking, it won't be enough. You will have to write almost 7 to 9 examples minimum. So, mnemonic once again, write it down, write it down, write it down. And it's not very tough. You already deal with elements, so आपके बाएं हाथ का खेल है. तो अल्ट्रा ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स हो गए, ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स हो गए, बल्क एलिमेंट्स हो गए. अब हम देखेंगे कि ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स भी कितने अमाउंट में लगते हैं. तो 1 to 10 to the power 4 ग्राम मोल पर 75 kg ह्यूमन इज फॉर बल्क एलिमेंट्स. ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स में वही होता है 1 बाई मतलब 10 to the power -4 to 10 to the power -1 gram mole per 75 kg. And for ultra trace elements, it is 10 to the power -4 gram mole per 75 kg. और इससे भी कम भी होता है. So all they fall into this ultra trace elements. Now we will go to our next chapter. Next question. Why are metal ions chosen as essential elements? Very important. Essential elements, when we started learning this, or in other words, when we first read the definition of bioinorganic chemistry, it said in a single sentence, role of metal ions in biology. But why metal ions? Basically, I will give you an answer in this portion, and that answer will have more technical terms, exactly what you should write to get good marks in your exam. But आपके समझने के लिए, because maybe you're learning this, you're knowing this for the first time, दिमाग में वैसा मतलब you might not be able to make sense of it. তো প্রথমবার যখন পড়ছো তখন একটা সিম্পল ডেফিনেশন হলে ব্রেনে মনে রাখতে সুবিধা হয়. আমি সেটাই নিচে দেব. বাট এটা কিন্তু তোমার নিজের বোঝার খাতিরে, তোমার বোঝার জন্য তুমি एग्जाम में चेष्टा করবে ऊपरটাই लिखे আসতে, ठीक है ना. लेकिन अगर ऐसा हो जाए कि एग्जाम हॉल में जाके आपको ये टेक्निकल मतलब ये मोर प्रोफेशनल मोर फॉर्मल वाला आंसर नहीं याद में आ रहा है, तो फिर खाली छोड़ने से बेहतर है कि आप ये सिंपल वाला आंसर लिख देना. So let's begin. Why are metal ions chosen as essential elements? Metal ions chosen as essential elements are able to form thermodynamically stable unit. Thermodynamically stable unit in active centers of proteins and biomolecules. So what is this thermodynamically stable units in active centers of protein and biomolecules? Well, इसी particular web series या फिर course, whatever you would like to call this, आने वाला जो episodes होगा, you will over there learn about hemoglobin and myoglobin, and there you will see the role of iron in them. And when you learn that, you will understand. That is an example. Obviously, many such things are there जो हम इस course में पढ़ेंगे. That is where you will understand fully what it means by thermodynamically stable units in active centers of proteins and biomolecules. Not only that, kinetically labile. Also, they have to be kinetically labile, facilitating rapid assembly and deassembly under physiological condition. मतलब जब ज़रूरी हो तो फिर वो structures ऐसे assemble कर सकते हैं, like Avengers assemble.
Avengers! Assemble.
या फिर जब ज़रूरी होगा they can deassemble. Obviously, technical terms है thermodynamically stable unit, kinetically labile. You will have to write this. Obviously, you should write this. But like I promised, एक simple सा एक answer भी हम बता रहे हैं. You prefer this, but if you can't recall this, तो फिर এটা লিখে আসলেও হবে. তাহলে আমরা সেটা এবার পড়ি. In simple terms, key for self understanding. Apato. So essential metal ions in our body need to be able to form stable structures within proteins and biomolecules. Matlab iron, the metal ion, the essential metal ion is sitting with hemoglobin. The structure is, not falling apart. अगर fall apart हो जाता तो फिर हमारे शरीर में होता क्या, blood कैसे कुछ कर पाता, right? So we are good because available to our iron, right? We will learn about that when we face that question. At the same time, these ions need to be able to let go of these molecules quickly when needed. लेकिन हमेशा पकड़ के भी नहीं रखना है, let go भी करना चाहिए जब ज़रूरी हो। তার মানে যখন দরকার পড়ছে হেমোগ্লোবিন স্ট্রাকচারের সাথে আয়রন বাইন্ড করছে, আর যখন দরকার পড়ছে আয়রন লেট গো করে দিচ্ছে। এক্সাম্পল আমরা দেখব। This ability to assemble and deassemble rapidly is important for their role in various biological function. Example, in hemoglobin, iron forms a stable structure with the protein. প্রোটিনের সাথে আয়রন একটা স্টেবল স্ট্রাকচার করে। ऐसे इससे क्या होता है, allowing it to bind and release oxygen as needed. This ability to bind and release oxygen is essential for the transport of oxygen from the lungs, tissues all around the body. तो अगर हमेशा अगर पकड़ के रखेगा ऑक्सीजन, मतलब it needs to hold the oxygen so that it can carry the oxygen to wherever it is needed in the body. लेकिन अगर ऑक्सीजन को छोड़ेगा नहीं तो फिर मतलब सोचो कि the oxygen that is carried by the hemoglobin has come to this hand, but it's not releasing the oxygen. This thing, मेरी हाथ को तो ज़रूरत है ऑक्सीजन का, लेकिन आप छोड़ नहीं रहे हो तो कैसे चलेगा? That's why these metal ions must have the ability to assemble, rapidly assemble and deassemble according to the need. That is what the answer is all about. Now, shifting to the next question, number 7. Why are zirconium and titanium not found in living cells? What is the reason behind it? Once again, first a professional answer, then an answer in simple terms. So, zirconium and titanium, spite of their abundance, बहुत बहुत मिलते हैं अर्थ में, बहुत मिलते हैं, पर फिर भी लिविंग सेल में नहीं मिलते. Why? These metal ions are readily precipitated as insoluble hydrated oxides at physiological pH. The entire sentence is with complicated words. We'll come to an easy answer, but पहले ये फिर से एक बार बोलते हैं. These metals are readily precipitated as insoluble hydrated oxides at physiological pH. Okay, point number 2. These metals have high oxidation state +4. Okay, written in whole words, +4, which is not suitable for reversible electron transfer and biological processes. Let's explain with the easier answer. They form insoluble compounds. पहली पॉइंट तो जो हमारी थी soluble hydrated oxide, तो उसका मतलब क्या है? In the conditions found inside living cells, zirconium and titanium tend to react with other molecules and form compounds that are not soluble in water. पानी के साथ soluble नहीं होता है, जो structures ही बनाते हैं with the other molecules in our body. इससे क्या होता है? This makes it difficult for these metals to move around and participate in biological processes. हमारे शरीर में जो molecules है उसके साथ ये जो zirconium and titanium है ना, what they do is they are not soluble in water. अगर पानी के साथ अगर soluble नहीं है, how are you supposed to travel in a living cell, right? So this makes it difficult for these metals to move around and participate in biological processes. हो गया हमारा नंबर 1 अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि insoluble compounds होने की वजह से readily precipitate हो जाते हैं, मतलब soluble नहीं होते, ऐसे वो बैठ जाते हैं. तो if बैठ जाते हैं तो travel कैसे करेंगे to reach to other parts of the body for any kind of requirement? Next is high oxidation state का मतलब क्या है? Both zirconium and titanium have an oxidation state of +4, which means they tend to gain or lose 4 electrons when they react with other substances. This oxidation state makes it difficult for these metals to participate in reversible electron transfer, which is important for many biological processes. कभी अगर reversible तो होना ही है, because rapidly assemble and deassemble. But अगर 4 electrons का जो ये जो चक्कर है about gaining and losing 4 electrons, it's a high oxidation state. तो फिर वो जो assembly और disassembly के बारे में हम बात कर रहे थे थोड़ी देर पहले, that is not very rapid in case of zirconium and titanium. तो पहली तो ये है कि high oxidation state की वजह से it becomes difficult, and the second thing is this, that because of it not being soluble in water, so that's why it gets very difficult for these metal ions to move around and participate in biological functions. एक typing error है, forgive me please. This is question number 9. अगर कोई भी question miss हुआ है, I will get it back to you, I promise. But now coming to health response of an organism to essential elements. Essential elements का हम जो बात कर रहे थे कि इसके ऊपर जाएगा तो टॉक्सिक हो जाएगा, इसके नीचे जाएगा तो एफिशिएंसी हो उसका, तो उसका ये आप पहले तो ये ग्राफ देख लो. इट्स अ ग्राफ विथ रिस्पॉन्स एंड डोज ऑन इट्स एक्सिस, और एक प्लेटो की तरह है चीज़. When it's at this point, let's take our pen. When it's at this point, वे सर्वाइवल के लिए, मतलब इट्स जस्ट बेसिक सर्वाइवल, द क्वांटिटी इज नॉट सफिशिएंट, बट है थोड़ी सी तो है. इट इज मतलब না হওয়ার থেকে থাক হওয়া তো ভালো, কিছু তো আছে, ব্যাপারটা সেরকম. नेक्स्ट अगर थोड़ी और डोज बनाएंगे तो फिर बोलेंगे कि नहीं जितना होना चाहिए उतना तो नहीं है, डिफिशिएंट है. मतलब যখন একটু বেড়ে যাচ্ছে তখন অপটিমাম মানে ফাইন, হ্যাপি উইথ হোয়াট আই হ্যাভ, এই এরপরে ডোজ আরো বাড়িয়ে দিচ্ছি, ठीक है. रेस्पॉन्स কিন্তু কমছে কারণ টক্সিক হয়ে যাচ্ছে, এত বেশিও দরকার নেই. अगर और भी ज़्यादा डोज बढ़ा दो तो फिर इट बिकम्स अ लीथल whatever is the pronunciation, मतलब it becomes deadly. You don't want to have more than that. We have a look at another kind of graph. ग्रोथ पॉजिटिव हो रहा है या फिर नेगेटिव. दिस इज ग्रोथ एक्सेलरेशन, मतलब पहले तो जब जैसे ही वी आर इंक्रीजिंग द डोज द ग्रोथ इज एक्सेलरेटिंग, फिर एक ऑप्टिमल ग्रोथ में हम पहुंच रहे हैं 20. लेकिन जब भी डोज हम बढ़ा रहे हैं तो फिर टॉक्सिक इफेक्ट की वजह से ग्रोथ इज एक्चुअली प्लमिटिंग. मतलब पहले तो पॉजिटिव रीजन में था, लेकिन बिकॉज वी आर इंक्रीजिंग द डोज विच इज़ नॉट नीडेड, इसीलिए इट इज़ गोइंग डाउन. तो दिस इज बेसिकली फॉर एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स. और फिर टॉक्सिक एलिमेंट्स के लिए, मतलब अगर टॉक्सिक एलिमेंट्स शरीर के अंदर शुरू से ही आ जाए तो फिर इसे पहले से ही ग्रोथ रिटार्डेशन हो जाता है. एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स के लिए पहले थोड़ी सी एक्सेलरेट होती है, फिर ऑप्टिमम जाती है, फिर जाके रिटार्ड होती है. लेकिन टॉक्सिक एलिमेंट्स के लिए पहले से ही रिटार्डेशन शुरू हो जाती है. एट अराउंड जीरो इनटेक ऑफ एसेंशियल एलिमेंट्स द कंडीशन में बी एनीथिंग अराउंड बेयर सर्वाइवल टू डेथ एज डोजेस टू. The organism will reach a stage of फंक्शनिंग बट एन एक्सेसिव डोज, जैसे कि हमने थोड़ी देर पहले बोला कि अगर हम डोज बढ़ाएंगे तो इट विल ग्रेजुअली लीड টু দ্য টক্সিসিটি বাই দ্য সেম এলিমেন্ট. লাইফ জবে থেকে শুরু হয়েছে, ইভলভ করছে, এই এলিমেন্টসগুলোকে দেখেনি বলে লাইফ জানে না এদের সাথে কি করে বিহেভ করতে হয়, কি করে কোপ করতে হয়, কি করা উচিত এই এলিমেন্টসগুলোর সাথে দেখা করলে. डेफिनेशन को अगर फॉलो करें वही लिखा है कि ड्यूरिंग एवोल्यूशन लाइफ डिड नॉट मीट certain elements like cadmium, arsenic, mercury. So, living organisms do not have any efficient mechanism to cope with these elements. Thus, tolerance limit for these toxic elements is very, very low. Next question. Why are carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and phosphorus found in abundance in living organisms? We read about them under bulk elements. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus possess some unique molecular fitness for the reactions occurring in biological systems. All these five elements form strong covalent bonds by sharing electron pairs with other elements and among themselves. उनके पास इलेक्ट्रॉन्स है, इसलिए वो बाकी एलिमेंट्स के साथ इलेक्ट्रॉन शेयर करके दे क्रिएट स्ट्रॉन्ग कोवैलेंट बॉन्ड्स. कार्बन, नाइट्रोजन और ऑक्सीजन also form double bonds because they share two pairs of electrons. By sharing two pairs of electrons, this gives rise to a lot of versatility to the structure and reactivity of the compounds. Example जरूरी है. So example, carbon has a unique property to form linear and branched chains. You already know about catenation, right? Because carbon has four electrons in its outer shell, so it can form four hands. ऐसे तरीके से एक बहुत बड़ा एक structure बन सकता है. So looking at its catenation property of carbon, carbon has a unique property to form linear and branched chains, मतलब straight if it branched chains and cyclic structures through catenation, which gives rise to a wide variety of organic compounds. Question number 12, very important. Once again, I do remember question number 8 is missing. We will replace that in our next episode. अभी हम पढ़ते हैं और ये हमारा लास्ट क्वेश्चन है इस पर्टिकुलर एपिसोड का. आई होप यू लाइक्ड इट. इफ यू आर फेसिंग एनी डाउट्स एनीवेयर, रिवाइंड द वीडियो and read it carefully. Whatever time you're dedicating to me for this particular episode, for this particular web series, just make sure you're giving your full attention. যাতে বারবার এটা জন্য অতটা সময় না দিতে হয়. जो समय आप किसी और के लिए और सब्जेक्ट के लिए दे सकते हो, राइट? Now, coming to bioinorganic chemistry, why should we learn about it? Is it just because it's in our syllabus? Well, that is a valid thing. Obviously, syllabus में है इसलिए पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा. But তা ছাড়াও bioinorganic chemistry career opportunities প্রচুর আছে এবং ভালো স্যালারি আছে. Let's see. Career prospects of bioinorganic chemistry. এটা obviously পরীক্ষায় আসবে না. But I am showing this to you so that you actually take this seriously, that okay, if a person wants to parallel shift, then this is a good thing because it will give you hefty salary. First is postdoctoral scientist. Annual salaries in India is from 4 lakhs to 10 lakhs and above. अब अब्रॉड में जाएंगे तो फिर ऑब्वियसली डॉलर के वैल्यू में वो उनके तो अलग ही सिस्टम है. सो देयर इट्स ऑलमोस्ट 40,000 to $70,000. नेक्स्ट इज बायो कॉन्जुगेट केमिस्ट. करते क्या है? They basically work on linking different molecules together for various biological applications. It's not new, it all exists. And let me tell you, bioinorganic chemistry is one of the latest branches of science. It's growing quite well because it is connected to the medical industry. इसलिए इसके जो स्कोप है ना वो भी बहुत बढ़िया है. And also let me tell you, bioinorganic chemistry is a disciplinary subject. मतलब एक সাবজেক্ট একটা শুরু হয়, সাবজেক্ট যখন তৈরি হয়, যে সায়েন্টিস্টরা ইনভলভ থাকে, তো এই সাবজেক্টটাও তৈরি হওয়ার সময় যে সায়েন্টিস্টগুলো ইনভলভ ছিল, দে হ্যাভ ফ্রম ফ্রম এগ্রিকালচার, ফ্রম বায়োলজি, বায়োকেমিস্ট্রি, বায়োটেকনোলজি, কেমিস্ট্রি, ফিজিক্স, ম্যাথস, এনভায়রনমেন্টাল সায়েন্স, ফিজিওলজি, এরকম অনেক সাবজেক্টের লাইন থেকে যেহেতু এসছে, বায়োঅর্গানিক কেমিস্ট্রি এর অনেকগুলো অপরচুনিটিও প্রচুর রয়েছে, ভার্সেটাইল অপরচুনিটি. Biotechnology scientists use what they do, they use biological systems and organisms to develop new products and technologies. Then we have patent agent or technology specialist, which is patent agent specialize in the legal aspects of patenting new inventions, but they have little connection to the law field. See, law ko bhi involve kar diya. We have annual salaries in India 4 lakh to 20 lakh. So it's wrong that there's no money. It's wrong that you don't have jobs or like that. There is money, there are jobs. Just need to focus on the time you have right now. This particular time you have right now with you, that is with you right now. So ho chuka hai, that has already gone. You can't do anything about it. You can't cry. जितना भी चाहो रो लो, कुछ नहीं होगा. आने वाला जो समय है, টেনশন করো, তুমি টেনশন করে করে মাথা খারাপ করে ফেলো, তবুও তুমি কিছু করতে পারবে না. বাট যেই সময়টা এখন তোমার কাছে আছে, দিস ইজ ইয়োর প্রেজেন্ট, এটা তোমার গিফট. এটা ইউজ অফ দ্যাট সো দ্যাট your future you will thank you. You know, you can do one thing right now, maybe after this episode, you take a piece of paper and you write a letter, and it's like you're thanking your future self that me 10-year-old, 10 year older, I thank you for making this beautiful house for me and my parents, or this beautiful car for me and my parents. And like that, I want to grow my career in this way. I will work hard in this way. It's just a poem, sorry, it's just a letter to you in future. It helps a lot. हम तो एक दूसरे को प्रॉमिस करते हैं, प्रॉमिस डे हो गया, ऐसा बहुत कुछ होता है, बट दिस इज समथिंग यू आर कमिटिंग टू योर सेल्फ. दिस गॉट इमेंस इंपॉर्टेंस. आप करके देखो ना, just do it and you have to be serious about it. Don't lie to yourself. নিজেকে মিথ্যে কথা বলো না, নিজেকে ঠকিও না. নিজের এই সময়টা যেটা এখন আছে রিগ্রেট না করতে হয় পরে, যে যখন এটা সিরিয়াস হওয়া উচিত ছিল. রিগ্রেট করাটা কেউ পছন্দ করে. জানি রিল্যাক্সেশন দরকার হয়, রিল্যাক্স করো না, किसने मना किया, बट एवरीथिंग शुड बी इन द एसेंशियल फिजियोलॉजिकल अमाउंट. ज़्यादा होने से टॉक्सिक हो सकता है, राइट? So next, metal associated pathologists who study the role of metals in disease processes. Annual salaries 3 lakhs to 50 lakhs per annum. Stay in your own country to work hard. Industry को आगे लेके चलो, and you see how blooming it becomes for you and your future generations. Last is assistant professor, very important, very popular. We know this. Annual salaries is like 5 lakhs to 5 lakhs. So this was all about this particular episode. In the next episode, we will begin with the role of bioelements and their role in human. हम देखेंगे कि उसकी importance क्या है हमारे शरीर में, and what diseases can occur if they are not in the sufficient quantity. That is going to go in our next episode. And after that, we will start with sodium potassium pump. And obviously, तब हमको पता चलेगा कि सोडियम पोटेशियम कैसे इंपॉर्टेंट है न्यूरॉन्स और नर्व सिग्नल्स के लिए. So this was all about this particular course, and I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, first you watch this video many times carefully, and not all the lectures are going to be in a similar format. हम experiment भी करेंगे ताकि आपका interest भी बरकरार रहे. And last but not the least, after everything, we will also come again to all the question answer zones. You just give your best and practice those things like write sufficiently, write a lot, and try to recall just close the copy and try to recall, so what did I learn. You can do one thing, it's like you are giving the lecture to your students, they're sitting in front of you or in the front of camera. You can do that, whichever sounds best. And another important thing, to check if you are at all studying subjective exams के question papers, तो जरूर, why not, we will arrange for that. But along with that, we will also arrange some objective exams. So I'll catch you in the next lecture or in the next episode. Till then, take care, keep working hard for your dream, and as always, keep being awesome. Thank you.